Hey everyone, what's up? My name is Jackson, and today I'm going to be walking through some of the basics of MuseScore Drumline. Now this is the second video I've done on MuseScore Drumline. I did the first video in December of last year, and I covered some more of the basics of using the software. If you're new here, which you probably are, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I plan to be posting more drum-related content in the near future, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button to see all of that content. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I asked people on Instagram whether or not they had any questions about MuseScore, and then some of these questions also stem from the last video I made. So let's go ahead and, just for a refresher, go into the Start Center and create a new score. We're going to title this, can't see what I'm typing. We're going to title this MuseScore Drumline Basics Part 2 by Jackson Arnold and by myself, and hit continue. Now I got a question about whether you can do a whole drum line in MuseScore, and the answer is yes. So you'll just double click on choose instruments, and then go to this little tab here and scroll down to marching band. Then go to percussion marching, and you can add in the marching snare line, the marching tenor line, the marching bass line, and the marching cymbal line. So you can do a full drum line. There's also other options in percussion. You can get some concert instruments, and you can also get marimba, either grand or single staff, xylophone, vibraphone, glockenspiel, crotales, timpani. So some of the other basic percussion instruments. We don't need a key signature, and we'll just stick with a 4/4 time signature. The most repetitive question I think I got was how to do double stops in the software. It's pretty simple. So if you want to just click a standard snare hit, click A, and then click Shift and hold A, or hold Shift and click A rather, and you'll have the double stop. You can do this for any note head, so if you wanted a normal hit and a rim shot, you can do that. If you wanted 2 pings as a double stop, or 2 regular shots as a double stop, you can do all of that. The same goes for the tenor line. I got a question about double stops on drum 3 and drum 4, or just any drum. So same applies. You click B, and then hold Shift and click A. You can add the note, not to beat a dead horse here, but for the bass drums it's the exact same thing. So hold Shift and then B, C, D, and E. So inserting double stops is fairly simple, but that was probably the most common question I got through Instagram and YouTube. The next most common question I got was about the palettes. So F9 toggles the palette. So if you click F9, the palette will go away. If you click F9, it'll come back. If you've undocked the palette somehow, it's pretty standard, or pretty easy rather, to put it back. All you do is drag it to the side, wait till it highlights blue. It's a little glitchy, but it'll eventually work, and then the palette will go in. You can do this to put the palette on the right or left side. I typically just keep it on the left, and like I said, it is a little glitchy, but with persistence you'll eventually get it in there. I know I covered this briefly in the last video, but if you want to make a custom palette, all you do is click Add Palettes and create a custom palette. We're just going to name this palette Basics, and basically if you want an accent in there, you can throw that there, or if you wanted a crescendo, all you do is just drag and drop. I got a question about in my personal custom palette, I have the parentheses, and so someone asked me about how I got those, and basically if you don't have the note heads section in your palette already, go to Add Palettes, and it'll be in this drop down menu somewhere, and just click Add. Once you do that, you can go to note heads and then open up your palette that you're making and just throw it in there, and that will give you the ability to put parentheses around a note. So if you want it to be across in the marching snare drum world, or if you want it to be across in the tenor, or if you wanted it to be a ghost note on drum set, you can do all of that. Keyboard shortcuts are something that was suggested to me in the last video I made talking about those. That was made by Inouye. I'll link his Instagram and his Twitch down below. He does live streams where he plays drum set. He's a really cool dude. You should go check him out. But he gave me this tip for keyboard shortcuts. So basically, in MuseScore, they support customizing keyboard shortcuts. So if you go into Preferences and then go to Shortcuts, there's all these different actions that you can create custom shortcuts to. There's three main ones that are notable to me. The first would be the accent shortcut. So that's a pre-existing shortcut. So that's Shift V, and then another pre-existing shortcut is the question mark or the backslash. That'll put in a grace note. So those are two that are pre-made, but two that I think are useful to add to your own are the other tuplets, which is in the O's somewhere. Let me find it. Okay, so here's other tuplets, and I've already made a shortcut for this since I've been using it, but you just double click and then you can type in a new shortcut. So I did Shift 1, which is an exclamation point, and then just click replace or create, and then you'll have that. And then there's another one that's add sticking, and this is really beneficial because you will be probably putting stickings in what you write, and this is just a shortcut to add that sticking in. So I've already made a shortcut again, but you just double click, and like I said, mine is Shift Z, and I'll just hit replace, but it's the same thing for me. So that's kind of all those keyboard shortcuts, and then you click OK, and those are all applied. Now, one thing about the accent shortcut that I do want to mention: when you hold Shift and click V, the accent will show up on the bottom of the note. That was a question I did end up getting at one point, was how do I get the accents off the bottom? All you do is click X, but if you want to continue using that shortcut, and if I go into another note, I have to click Shift V and then click X. But what you can do is, if you highlight the accent, you click F8, and that'll open up the inspector. And what you do, you can see the anchor here says above chord now that I've changed it. And what you want to do is click this S here, and it'll set that as the style for the entire piece. So if I go out of F8 and I just go to this note here, and I want to make it an accent, all I do is Shift V, and it should pop up at the top of the note. Like I said, there's the shortcut for flams. So if I wanted there to be a flam on drum 4 and the first beat of this measure, I can just click the backslash and it'll add in a flam. So that's pretty helpful. So the other tuplet shortcut that I was talking about. So basically, if you watched the last video I made, I talked about how you can add odd tuplets. So adding tuplets, if you don't know in MuseScore, you can add triplets, sextuplets, fivelets, all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty simple, right? You just click 5 on the keyboard, or you can manually go up and select a quarter note with the mouse, and then click Command and 3, and that's the shortcut to make a triplet. But there's not a good way to do it if you say wanted to do a 5/3 tuplet. That takes up a dotted quarter, and when you click Command 5, there's no way for them to know that that's 5/3, right? You just have to guess. So there's two ways you can go about making this, making the ratio show up above. So you can either select the dotted quarter note in rhythm and then go to add, tuplet, other 5/3 and click ratio. You can do it that way. You can also do it using the shortcut. So all I do is shift 1. It'll pop up that menu without having to go through everything, and then I click ratio 5/3 and it'll show it that way. And then the other way to do it, let me get out of the note input. The other way to do it is, again, selecting that dotted quarter and then making it, filling in that tuplet, and then going into the inspector, which is F8, and then you scroll down here, you see tuplet, and you can change it from number to ratio, and if you wanted to put the bracket on there, you can. But that's just a way to do it after the fact through the inspector. So there's 3 ways to do it. It just really depends on personal preference, which you'd rather do. Now, the sticking shortcut is really helpful. So let's just say we had 2 groups of 16th notes, and we wanted to add a sticking to them. I could just click Shift and then Z, and that sticking tab would pop up. Previously, you'd have to go to add and then text and go all the way down here to sticking to pop up that menu. Now, if you remember the previous video I made, I talked about using Command L or lyrics to input stickings. Now, I'll show you why that's not preferable. This was something that was pointed out to me in the last video, but I'll go ahead and just show you why it's not preferable. So if I wanted to make these 2 paradiddles, I'm using the sticking here, okay, and if I highlight this measure and copy and paste, just a heads up, stickings do not copy and paste, so that's one thing to note. But if I go ahead and I do the same thing here with Command L and the lyrics feature, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, you'll see that already they're below. You'll see that already the lyrics are below the stickings. Where this really shines is when you add in dynamics. So let's just say, let me go to my writing palette. Let's just say we wanted these paradiddles to crescendo from piano to forte. Okay, you can see where this is going. The sticking will fall in between the dynamics and the notes. The lyrics will go on the outside. So this is a lot more condensed, and this is a lot uglier. So I'd totally recommend stickings over lyrics. That's kind of an oopsie on my part. I would use stickings. It looks way better. I ended up getting a question about putting more than 2 triplets in a bar, and that's a pretty simple question to answer. So, like I said, make sure you have the quarter note selected if you're trying to do 8th note triplets, and then click Command 3. And then you'll do that same thing. Click 5, Command 3, 5, Command 3, 5, Command 3. I also got a question about doing weird subdivisions and how you should notate them in MuseScore. What's the easiest way to do that? What I do is I just put in, if I wanted to make some random rhythm here, and I just took out partials, basically I just put all of the 16th notes in there, and then I would take out what I don't need. So if I say wanted it to be on the E and the I just take out all of the 1 ands of the 16th notes, although you'd probably want to write it like this, because that just makes a lot more sense. But you know, that's just the concept behind putting partials in or taking them out. I think it's just easier to write them all and then take out what you don't need. Okay, so I had another question about pictograms. I don't use pictograms all that much, but you can find them under the playing techniques, and So you've got playing zones like right edge or left edge or back edge or front edge. So say you wanted all these triplets to be on the front edge. When you click the pictogram, it'll show up right in the middle of the note. So what I recommend doing, it's doing this to me again where it's duplicating it. What I recommend doing is just grabbing it and moving it manually. I'm really not sure why MuseScore does this, but I'm not sure how to fix it other than just moving it manually. It seems to me like it's just a glitch in the software. I only have 3 more things to talk about in this video, unless I get more questions on Instagram, and then you might see a me from tomorrow. But as of right now, I've only got 3 things left to talk about. 2 of those deal with tuplets. I got this tip, by the way, from Kobe Vo. You should check him out on Instagram at Kobe Vo Drums. I will link his Instagram. Also a great dude. Him and Adam gave me some of these tips, so go check them out. I'll have links to their profiles in the description. Anyways, I'm going to totally steal his example for this explanation, but if you want to put tuplets over the bar line, let's just say you wanted 3 quarter notes, and then you wanted a quarter note triplet on this last beat. So what you'd have to do is you'd highlight the measure, and then go down and click measure properties, and then for actual, you're gonna click you're gonna make this 8/4. Okay, and then what you can do is you can select your half note, write in a quarter note triplet, and then what you'll do from here, you'll select the last partial of the quarter note triplet because the bar line would fall in between the second and third partial, and then you will go down to bar lines in the palette and just select normal bar line, and it'll put a bar line there, and now you've got a tuplet crossing the bar line. It will put this cross in there. I'm not entirely sure how to get rid of it. If anyone knows, leave that down below, but at least you will get that visual, and now you can put quarter notes or eighth notes or whatever you want to fill out the measure. And then what this will do, this counts only as one measure. You see when I click on it, it highlights the whole thing. So it'll throw off the measure number count. So what you do is you go, you highlight the measure after, and you do the same thing. You go into measure properties, and then you click add to measure number and click 1, and then all the measure numbers are fixed. So that's what you have to do for that. Another thing I got from Kobe is when you're working with odd tuplets, they're hard to make in a 4/4 bar. So what you do is go into time signatures, and if you wanted something over 5, you'd go with 5/8, and then select not the measure but the whole rest, and then go into the tuplet menu and say you wanted a 7/5 tuplet. You could put it there, and then copy, paste, and put it into the 4/4. And then what you can do is just command delete, and you'll get rid of that measure. Trying to remember how you alright, yeah, time signature, and you can just change it back to 4/4 and then delete the measure so that there's not a random 4/4 in there, and then every measure after that will be in 4/4. So that's just kind of how you deal with weird tuplets if you wanted a 7/5. So yeah, this measure, so yeah, that's kind of how you deal with that, and that's kind of about it in terms of what I have to talk about. Now the last thing, the last question I got was about score audio and how when you upload it online, it's not uploading with the MuseScore Drumline sounds. Here's what I would do. Actually, I think he said it was not even uploading with sound at all. So you'll click Save Online, and I don't know if I'm logged in. Yeah, so, and then you see this box, you'll need to click Upload Score Audio. Click Continue. And it will export. And this might post as public, so it'd be interesting. It will not. Cool. So I'll post this as private. But yeah, you want to make sure you click Upload Score Audio, and then I'll save. And we'll give it a little bit, and then I will be right back, and I will hop into MuseScore Online. Alright, so I am on my MuseScore page, and what I'm going to do is go to my scores, and you'll see that the MuseScore Drumline basics posted, and we will play. It loads. Yeah, so you just want to make sure that when you export it in MuseScore, you click Upload Score Audio. And then that's about it as far as the tips I've got. That wraps up the video. If you have any questions or suggestions, go ahead and leave those in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this in the future. Thanks, guys. Peace.